first video of what is going to be a series of videos on how learning PHP from scratch. This is the items we're going to see. Step by step, I get you guys to work with PHP very easily and very professionally. So it does not consist only of knowing PHP, but also knowing what goes around PHP, like storage, performance, scalability. Also, JavaScript is kind of important in this case. Testing the code we write, securing the applications we make. In one word, everything that goes around PHP. Not only PHP itself, but like how to build good and secure applications with PHP. Well, before we go ahead, English is not my first language. French is my first language, but I decided to make these videos in English. But you guys can ask me questions in French or English or even German or Spanish. I speak all these 4 languages, and so it does not matter which language you speak. Just go ahead and put in your questions. Good. So we are not going to do anything with this video. I'm just going to go through these points here. So we have PHP. Of course, we are going to see all the API of PHP. With API, I mean, of course, all the tools. API stands for Application Programming Interface, which means all the functions and possibilities that PHP or the Zend engine made available for PHP developers. So we're going to see all the functions and the methods, or all the code written around PHP. Of course, when we use PHP, which is a server-side language, scripting language, of course we need also to store some data. Usually, most of the time when we get to create an application, we also need to store the data coming either from users or from ourselves or whatever. So basically we need to store the data, and usually we either choose a database, which is most widely used, or files like XML files or JSON files or simple text files or whatever. There are a lot of possibilities to store data. We're going to see database, of course, with MySQL, and we're going to see XML files and JSON, which are most used ones. We are also going to see how to maintain the performance of an application, which is really important if your application is widely used. And websites like Facebook, they have millions of people connecting to the site, so they really need to have the site keep performing despite all the millions of requests they are getting. So this is really important to know how to create a scalable application, which means you always add performance to it as the site grows, most of the time by adding servers, but it's not, we're going to get to it later. Caching also is really important when we get to create an application. It's really important to cache some data in the, memcached. Memcache is system, like a database query most of the time is really expensive in terms of performance. So sometimes we need to store data that is broadly used by users. We store it in instead of creating each time a DB request, a database request, we just store it in the memory, which is quickly accessible by you. And memcached is a system, we are going to see it, to cache the data instead of doing database queries. There are also some caching methods we can use, like simple ones. We have also some good ones with the framework Symfony or Zend. Anyway, we will see that. HTTP request number 4 is really important to understand what's an HTTP request and what is a request between a client, the browser, and the server, such as Apache. So it's really important to understand what's going on between the time you click on the link and the time you get the response from the server. What was going on? What is going on behind? What is HTTP? And what is of also we were going to see the REST API system. It's also good to know in this case HTML. Of course, it's really important. HTML is the basic of web applications, along with CSS, which is have become really important to master CSS. JavaScript is really important when you get to create an application. So we're going to the front end here because most of the time an application is divided into two parts. You have the front end, which means what is visible, and this is linked to HTML and JavaScript, etc. And the back end, what is the logic of the applications in relation with the database and the data storage, etc. So we're going to see JavaScript really deep, I hope. We will also see some frameworks, some PHP frameworks like Symfony and Zend, the ones I work with. So I'll show you how to create applications with Symfony and how to create application with Zend, which is most of the time the same because they use some design patterns like MVC, model views, controllers. We will get to know this. Usually it's the same thing, but maybe different approach, etc. Testing the application is also really important. When you usually people don't test the applications and good. There are ways today how to test applications, especially if the application is being programmed by many people. So it's really good to make tests, good tests to the applications. We have unit tests, which is like testing every time you want to create a part of code to put into the applications. You need to test this part of code. This is why it's called unit. It's just a small piece of the code. And you have functional testing, which is testing how the application behaves. Today with unit testing, most of the time it's PHP unit, or if you are using framework like Symfony, it's Lime, etc. On functional testing, you have also things like Selenium, which is like an API, a system, an environment to enable you to make simple tests in different browsers, etc. Versioning control, number 9, versioning control is how when you create an application, you need people to work on it from different part of the world, probably, or just to put it in a repository where it is accessible from any time. If today you are in Paris and tomorrow you are in Berlin, you need to have the possibility to work into to get into this application wherever you are. So a repository is a place where you put your application, where people can connect to this repository and work on the applications. There are broadly two main systems to control these files, etc. We will get in details with it. You have Subversion, SVN, and Git. Git is getting more and more better than SVN, but both are used, so we can get used to. We can learn both. Command line is also for people who are not used to use the command line or the terminal or whatever system, because I myself work on Windows and Mac, Linux, both. So I switch from one to the other. Today I am with Windows and tomorrow I'm with Linux. So we will get to see how the command line is important in some cases, or the terminal, and how to use it, and etc. etc. So that was it for this introduction. An introduction, it should be short, but it's clear what we are going to see, which means we have a bunch of videos coming up in the next time. Thanks guys for listening, and hope to see you next. Bye.